Hey YouTube, I want to start by saying I never planned on having a YouTube channel like this, and never thought I would be recording a video like this because for years and years and years I've watched videos similar to this one, the one I'm about to share with you, one I'm making now, and um, I just never saw myself getting in this arena. I enjoyed just watching, but after the dream that I had on Saturday night, this past Saturday night, I've prayed about it for the last couple of days. Today is Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, and the dream that I had was on Saturday night, so July 12th. And I just prayed about it for the last couple of days and what to do with it. I shared with one friend, and they didn't tell me, "Oh, you need to put this on YouTube" or anything. But after praying about it, I really felt compelled, like God didn't give me this dream for me to keep to myself, and that I need to share it and just tell you what I saw. I'm not going to give you a long background or history on me. It's not really relevant at this point. I'll probably do a video later with that, like a full introduction. But for this video, I don't want to really belabor it by talking about myself, and just kind of hop right into the dream that I had, and then maybe later I'll do an appropriate introduction. Okay, so the dream I had started with me being in a very popular fast food restaurant. Um, and it's a restaurant that I really never go to. I'll go through the drive-through for my kids. Um, I never go to it myself. I haven't been in a very long time for myself. Um, so it was kind of odd to me that I found myself sitting in this dining room I certainly never eat in, on the rare occasion that I do go. And I noticed that the dining room was completely empty. There was nobody around, and I was looking behind the counter. So I'm sitting at a table in this dining room. I'm looking behind the counter. I hear the beepings and stuff of like their equipment and their machines, and but nobody's there. And I'm like panning around, and then when I get to right directly across from me, there is a manager, and who I assume was like an assistant manager, and I'm basing this on their outfits. They were not your run of the mill outfits. They were they had collars and name tags and stuff. I'm leaving the name of the restaurant out because I don't think I don't know a YouTube flags. Like I said, I've never made a video like this, so I have no idea. But everybody knows this chain. It's one of the most popular fast food restaurant in America by far. And so I noticed that, okay, I've got this manager and this assistant manager in front of me, and they were both looking at me with anticipation, as if they were waiting for me to tell them something. And I I immediately was kind of confused because I'm like, what? Why does it seem like you're expecting me here and like you're expecting me to tell you? I don't have anything to tell you. Matter of fact, I don't even know what I'm doing here. So when I looked at them, I just thought to say, instead of going through, hey, what am I doing here and all this, I just asked them. I said, where is everybody? Why are you two the only ones here? Where's your employees? Because I had panned behind the counter and I noticed that there was nobody anywhere. Not at the fryer, not in the drive-through, not at the cashier. There was just nobody talking. No hustle bustle, and there's just nobody around. And so they said, nobody will come in because they're afraid because of what's happened. And I said, okay. And then the other one said that the one manager had said nobody will come in because they're afraid because of what's happened. And then the other one said, it's not like it matters anyway. We don't have any customers. And I thought, don't have any customers? Like, this place is always busy, or at least relatively busy. But before I could even continue the conversation, the scene completely changed. And it was as if I was parachuting over a very large roundabout. This roundabout was a highway roundabout. It was very large, and it looked like it was on the Gulf side of Florida, and there were cars that were stopped. It wasn't like they were just stuck in traffic, waiting in traffic. They were stopped. They were wrecked. A lot of fender benders, a lot of different cars just sitting there. I don't know how long they had been sitting there, but there was just panic. And I noticed that there were some road cars. Again, I'm seeing this from an aerial view as if I'm parachuting slowly down to the scene. I noticed that there were some cars. I remember specifically seeing a Crown Vic, an old Crown Vic, and it was driving through. It was like weaving through all these stop cars, clipping some mirrors on the way by. I mean, it was reckless. It was like panicked. It was whoever was driving was in a hurry, and they weren't thinking about like trying to obey the law or anything like that. They were just frantically moving about. And so I realized that, wow, okay, something awful's happened here, and I'm not sure what it is. And I'm not sure, like, there's obviously more going on. And I knew that this was connected to what was happening in the fast food restaurant that I started in. I didn't know how, but I knew that obviously this is whatever's happened in this world is big enough that the most popular fast food restaurant in America would be completely empty, that employees would be afraid to come in, and that cars would be stuck and just sitting, like just sitting on the highway at a massive roundabout in what I assume was somewhere in the Tampa area, and I just mind-boggling. And so as I came down, and by the way, I wasn't parachuting. I've never jumped out of a plane. I don't think I ever will. But I wasn't parachuting. But it was like I just came down to earth, and I was standing at the scene of a very, very terrible accident. It was a fatal accident, and there were two officers. One was guy, one was girl, and I asked the female officer, I said, hey, what's going on? Like, what is happening? And she looked at me in disbelief. Like, I, I felt stupid. And she kind of looked at me like, are you serious? Like, it was like, is this a joke? Are you messing around? Like, she fully expected that me to know what was going on. And so, but I had no idea. And so I just waited for her to reply. And after she looked at me with her head tilted, kind of with her eyes squinted, like, are you kidding? She kind of realized that I wasn't joking around. And so I said, and she straightened up her head. She looked at me, her eyes kind of open. I noticed her demeanor change because I was just going to wait for her to give me an explanation. And so then she asked me the question, like, how do you not know what's going on? And so at that point, I realized, okay, so it seemed like the managers in the restaurant were expecting me to have some kind of information. This officer thinks that I'm pulling her leg at the scene of what is a fatal accident. And I knew it was fatal because there was a woman who was laying on the ground, and she was almost fully covered, like with a sheet. Her face was still visible right at my feet, and I didn't even want to look. I didn't even want to look down at her. I knew this was the scene of a fatal accident. But because of what I saw on my descent, with all the cars and being stopped, and these cars are a couple of different older cars, but the one I remembered specifically in terms of description was an old Crown Vic, weaving through traffic and everything. I wasn't even focused or fixated on the fact that I was standing right next to someone who had passed in this car accident. I just wanted to know what was going on in our world that would cause all this. And so I quickly had this unction to leave. I was like, I just got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. So I asked the officer, I said, is there any way for me to get through? Is there any way for me to get through? I've got to get out of here. and she pointed at a different car. It was not the same Crown Vic I'd seen earlier. That was weaving through traffic, and it actually, when I looked, I remembered distinctly it had just crossed over the median, and and recklessly swerving and then changing directions. It was like doing a U-turn. And she pointed that way, so I looked at her and I said, "You want me to do that?" And she said, "Do you see what the cars that are moving are doing?" And I said, "Yeah, they're doing that." And she said, "Okay." And so it was like she wasn't going to tell me to do that, but she was also telling me, she was implying, okay, this is the only way. So like, if you're going to do it, but I didn't give you my consent. That was the impression that I got from it. It's like, she's going to be a cop. She's not going to lose her job for telling me to drive recklessly like a maniac and weave between all these stopped cars. I want to say that in these parked cars, there weren't people in them. In most of them, there were in some. But in most of them, the cars were parked, and it wasn't like some disappearance or rapture event. It was like the people who had driven these cars, they had gotten out and left, and they just left their cars there. So she told me, she said, I turned around to walk away, and lo and behold, there was a car there that the driver's door was open, and I felt comfortable to get in. Like, it wasn't like, "Ooh, I'm going to steal a car." It was just like, yeah, this is what I need to do. I'm going to get in this car and I'm going to weave through and get out of here. And as I was walking towards the driver's side, she said, "Hey," and I looked over my shoulder at her, and she said, "You should turn the radio on when you get in there." I was like, "Okay." So I turned the radio on, and the voice of someone who's extremely popular in the podcast world, I'm not going to say their name, was on there. And they said, "We knew that this was coming. We didn't know it was going to be this bad. It's been confirmed that over 92.5 million Americans are likely dead." And then they said that they were going to be right back with the president's response in a moment for this special report. And then after they said for the special report, it was like they were naming the special report Half Dead. And then it went to this music. Now, as soon as it went to this music, like this outro music or commercial music, boom, the scene changes again. And this time, I'm in a great big, like a room. It looked like a government room, but it wasn't America. I don't know where it was. And I saw these elites. I saw these politicians and these elites, and they were all happy. It wasn't like they were giddy or laughing, except for one, which I'm about to get to. But they were happy. They were pleased. They all looked satisfied, and like they all looked like, "Ooh, yeah, this is what needed to happen. What we wanted to go our way went our way." And then I saw in front of all of them, so they were all like around this chamber, in this chamber, and then right up front and close, as if I was standing face to face. It was kind of like I was panning, kind of like in the restaurant that I saw in the beginning. I'm panning around, and then right in front of me, like face to face, is a very well-known politician who is a leader of a government that is not America, but that is an ally to America. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to mention the name. You can probably figure this out. But again, I don't want to get flagged on my first video. So I'm just going to leave it there. And he was jubilant. He was ecstatic because of what's happening in America, what's happened to America. And he was gloating, and he kept saying over and over, "I cast the vote, I cast the vote." And immediately I knew, I don't know how I knew it, but I knew what it meant. It meant that the elites that I were looking at, that were part of this decision, that whatever attack had happened to America, that there was a decision that had to be made. And there was a tie amongst these politicians and elites. And this particular leader of this particular nation cast the deciding vote to break the tie. I don't know how I knew this. I just knew it. Like, there was no question. Nobody had to tell me. I just knew. And he was gloating. He was bragging around the chamber as if he had just won a game. And as he was saying this, in each of his hands, in one in his left hand and in his right hand, he had what looked like tickets. It was almost like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like got the golden ticket. Like, but they weren't golden; they were white. They looked like tickets, though. And he kept holding them up, saying, "I cast the vote. I cast the vote." And his vote was about what happened in America. Like, there was no question about it. And then the scene changed, and I saw what looked like what I can only describe as the robots. I'll just put it that way. I could say the brand name, but you can figure it out. And they were in a certain part of America. I'm guessing it was the West Coast area, and they were in this where they were looked like it had been absolutely leveled. Like, there were no buildings. There was only like ash and like rubble. My goodness, wow. Anyway, there was only ash and rubble, and they had what looked like metal detectors. They weren't metal detectors, but they looked like metal detectors. And they were moving around these metal detectors, and each of them had a voice coming out of them saying radiation, 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 radiation. It was like they were there in order to clear the area, and until they reported that the radiation was gone, the people behind them, at least I'm assuming it wasn't AI and that it was actually people controlling these things. Who knows? But they were there in order to clear the area before anybody could get around it again. And so then when I was waking up, I had the thought, and I was in between sleep and waking right after I saw that. And I was curious. I live in Florida, and I was curious as if this was going to hit Florida. And so I asked God in this moment, like in between the two realms, is Florida going to be struck? And immediately I got a reply, and it was no, they want to use Florida. They like it for its accessibility from both east and west, from both the air and the ocean. And that was it. And then I woke up, and it shook me. I mean, it absolutely shook me. I knew, like I said, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm certainly not trying to fearmonger. We've got enough real, like, tangible things that we're seeing with all the floods and everything happening. We don't need any more fear. And so this is not to incite fear. This is simply to share what I feel like I'm supposed to share. I felt like God gave me that dream and that I'm not supposed to sit on it. So if nobody watches this video, or if it only gets a few views, it really doesn't matter. I'm not setting out to be a YouTube creator. I did name this channel, put an AI image up because I prayed about it. I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know if I'm going to have more dreams or not. I'm certainly not going to make them up. So if I don't have any more dreams, this will be my one and done. I'll be like a 90s band, one hit wonder. It's over if this actually even hits. But if I do have more dreams, or if God gives me more visions or insights, I'll certainly share them with you guys. If you've been watching this long, thank you so much for watching. If you want to stay tuned to see if there's more, like and subscribe to this channel. I guess it would just be subscribe again. I watch a lot of YouTube, so I'm used to hearing this kind of outro. But just subscribe. I don't know if there will be or not. Again, if I don't have anything else, I'm not going to share it. I do feel like God wanted me to put this on here, so I'm assuming maybe that's because this is a direction He wants me to go, and this is how He's going to start using me, but we'll see. Thank you for watching. In the meantime, make sure that you know Jesus. It's the most important decision that you'll make in your life, especially right now. We are living in some wild times, so make sure you know Jesus. If you don't know Him, please reach out. I'll be happy to talk to you more about that. God bless you.